It is difficult sometimes for a national organization to feel connected with their members in the field. And so we have our directors of membership going across the country in different regions and spending time with owners and operators on the ground and collaborating with local associations like the wonderful Metropolitan Golf Association. Thank you, Nick, for your collaboration today. And we're trying really to be the catalyst to have conversations just like we're having today. So as we round out our program, I want to give you a brief introduction of who the NGCOA is and what is top of mind for us right now. As a national association, we have 14 affiliates across the country. So that means that there's several states, New York being one of them, that are not covered currently by an affiliate. But I do want to recognize one of our local, regional, I guess, executive directors, Ron Stepanic. Ron, could you stand up? Ron is the executive director of the Pennsylvania Golf Course Owners Association, and I really appreciate you being here today. We're great partners and really enjoy working together. So like I said, when we don't have an affiliate that takes care of members in a particular state, our goal this year at the national level was to get local, to get boots on the ground, to come and sit with you, to be a catalyst to bring you together with other owners and operators, and to ask questions and have discussions like we've had today and like we're about to have further into this afternoon. It's a good time to be in golf. I come from almost 3 decades. I know I don't look near that old in golf operations. I've been with the NGCOA for 3 years, and it's a different experience on the association side, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it because I get to work with all of people like you in this room to really understand the business issues. I come from a family-run business as an ag kid growing up on a farm, and my husband owns his own business, so I know what it's like when you're the last one to get paid sometimes. Many of our members for the first time in 20 years are making money, right? We've been through the highs and lows of this industry, and the sometimes heartbreak that it might bring with the endless rain storms that impact the bottom line so much. But now, golf is good. We're enjoying it. We heard some of that from our panelists. I hope we'll continue talking about it. And we are having new discussions, right? Discussions of, well, how are we going to continue to take care of the high demand? And I would just take this opportunity to share with you what I shared with the group out in Colorado just a few weeks ago. When we think about the future of golf and making sure that clubs are still getting into the hands of new golfers, that we have to evolve our own thinking of what golf looks like, and that it isn't always going to be 4.5 hours on 18 holes of greens. It's going to be screen golf. It's going to be short game golf, which is one of the growing segments of new golf courses, right? High-end resort short game courses. It's going to be range experiences, and I use that purposely because it's a different range than we've seen in the past. It's going to be VR golf, right? It's going to be all these different components, but it will still continue to be golf. And just like Sebi, who is so cool around the Thanksgiving dinner table here in a few weeks because he plays golf, golf is cool. And we needed to capitalize on it. And our owners, who are operators and owners of golf courses, we hope that these conversations and the resources that we provide you at the NGCOA allow you to capitalize on that financially. And that you can welcome a new age of golfer so that they have the experience that they see on Instagram and TikTok when they come to your facility, if that's the group that you're trying to attract. So there's a lot going on in the space, and we really pride ourselves that the NGCOA truly exists for you. We exist to support our members so that they can thrive in their golf business. I gave everybody a packet when we came in today, and I just wanted to go over real quick what's in here. I gave to everybody today a copy of this white paper, which is not available to people who are not NGCOA members. This is a white paper that we just produced and just released with a partner of ours, Lightspeed. And it's on a topic that I'm pretty sure everybody in this room wants to know more about: driving demand, revenue, and retention across the golfer journey. So I like that you have the guts to share what you would do if you were a golf course owner in front of a room of golf course owners and operators. Gutsy, but it's okay, I like it. It's why you're an entrepreneur. And what I really like is I don't think you're wrong, right? We talk about member for a day. NGF, we talked about a couple weeks ago, we talked about the current loneliness pandemic that swept the United States. And like I shared with you as you were stretching, so you likely didn't hear, it brought me back to Peter Drucker's quote when he says, "The customer rarely buys what the business thinks it sells." They're really not buying when they come to Tom's Golf Club. They might be buying high-end golf in Lincoln, but I sold golf club memberships for a long time. They're buying belonging. They're buying community. They're buying experience. And I think Tom touched on that when he talked about, and some of us were talking about expanding the spaces for lingering a little bit longer. You know, Seth says you invite them and give them a reason to stay. So, anyways, I hope that this is a good resource for you, and I hope you'll enjoy that. This is an exclusive, normally only available for members, but it is a good example of what we do with the NGCOA with some of our white papers. The other things in here are going to be materials on member benefits. I'm going to touch on those as I go through my slides. I do want to get to my slides though, because we've got some presenters who are joining us remotely and they're waiting in the waiting room. But real briefly, I want to give you just a note about our history. The National Golf Foundation, I'm sorry, that is not who we are. The National Golf Course Owners Association was founded in 1971. We're headquartered out of Charleston, South Carolina. I operate the West office out in Denver, Colorado, and we are governed by a national board of directors. You can see some of those folks pictured here. They are golf course owners and operators of government, quasi-government revenue organizations who sit on our board. And they really help us to stay true to our mission, to deliver resources that allow our members to thrive in their business. So I want to take you through today, because I know we're getting close to lunch, the 4 pillars that really guide us at the NGCOA. And I'm going to start with advocacy. This flyer in here, advocacy is really the crown jewel of the NGCOA, as you hear our CEO, Jay Karen, say. And one of the pieces I included in your packet today is the handout that we took when we had over, was it 600 meetings in May on Capitol Hill? Did anybody go to National Golf Day? So every year, the American Golf Industry Coalition, of which the NGCOA is a board member of, ascends on to Capitol Hill, and we host meetings with representatives in the House. And we talk to them exactly about what Tom talked about today. Why does it matter? Why does the business of golf matter? So we try to bring clarity to the issues of the business at both the state and federal level that impact your business. Sometimes we have to gather voices, like when we use these and go to Capitol Hill as an industry, and that's why it's important that every golf course in America belong to our trade association. And then sometimes advocacy looks like pushing back against market forces. Like this year, for example, when companies started scraping tee times from our individual owner-operators and reselling them or not. And one golf course owner was stuck with $3,000 in lost revenue because of no-shows. Sometimes it looks like making sure that Google allows the owner to own the link to make tee times and doesn't push it to a third party that maybe that course doesn't want to work with. In the realm of advocacy, we will continue to see issues related to environmental headwinds like Tom talked about, and we hope to play a bigger role in getting that message out. I think that it was really important to Nick and I that we had that presentation from Tom and the Empire Golf Alliance on the agenda today. But what's so important, you said the 5 lawmakers, the lawmakers in 5 boroughs aren't friendly to golf. The real impact of doing that study is only going to be seen if all of you take it back and implement it somehow, right? And so working together to brainstorm how you're going to do that, whether it be through messaging, through State Golf Day, and messaging to the consumers, which the Empire Golf Alliance is about to do. And we're gonna help through a small donation today. For anybody who joins the NGCOA that's not a member, we're gonna give you a full first year dues to help fund that campaign to consumers throughout the state of New York about the business of golf. I want to bring local some of the advocacy work that we've done, and that brings me to our first presenter who's joining us straight from her trip out west to Disneyland. Jennifer, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, Rachel.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us. Jennifer was our attorney that we worked with on an issue here in the state of New York. Is everybody familiar with the Casanova Golf Club case with the air golf ball? Okay, Jennifer, you can't see the crowd, but there are not a lot of hands raised, so we're going to have to do a little bit of education here. So this is an example. Usually the National Association doesn't always get involved in local sort of legal issues like this one, but the reason this one is one that we rallied the troops on and actually funded an amicus brief was because we were concerned that the outcome of this case could impact the industry across the board. And so Jennifer, I invited Jennifer here today to just share with us a little bit about what happened in that case at Casanova and why it mattered. Jennifer, you want to set the table for us?
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Thanks again for inviting me. I'm sorry I can't attend in person, but I should mention I just got back from the West Coast and travel's been a little chaotic, but happy to be here today. So yeah, I'm a partner at Mackenzie Hughes in Syracuse, and we defended the Casanova Golf Club in a lawsuit brought back in 2020 in the halcyon days of COVID. It took us 5 years to finally get a resolution, but we did earlier this year, so I'm happy to tell you folks about it. So the basic premise is that there's premises liability in New York State. That's what the courts recognize, which is that a person, if they're injured on property, then they can potentially sue the property owner or the operator for their injuries. Most of the time we think of those as slip and falls or something hitting you while you're on the property. There is an exception to those, and that is for recreational and sporting activities. And that includes a wide gamut of such sports and activities. So we're talking about basketball, hockey, skiing, and of course golf. And the exception to that is the assumption of the risk doctrine, which is recognized, long been recognized in New York, as a shield to liability for defendants who are sued for injuries some plaintiff may have sustained at their golf course, at their event center, at their ski hill, whatever it may be. Now, the assumption of the risk doctrine is not a blanket immunity. It does have kind of its own little intricacies, and it really specifically relates to each type of activity. For example, just because you get injured skiing doesn't mean that the mountain is shielded from liability. But what it means is, did you get hurt in a way that is inherent to the nature of the sport? So for skiing, you know, if you got hurt because the slope was icy or there was a mole, those types of things are inherent in the nature of skiing, and the mountain would be able to raise that assumption of the risk doctrine to say, we can't be sued for the injuries the plaintiff sustained because he got injured in the way that people tend to get injured for skiing. And the reason that the courts recognize that is we want to encourage the public to use these facilities, and we want these facilities to exist. There is obviously a physical and mental benefits to having these types of activities available, and we don't want to discourage entrepreneurs and business owners from operating such types of activities. Now for golf, most of us can probably recognize that the greatest risk, other than the frustration to our mental health, is that there is a risk of getting hit by a bad shot. It's a risk that has been recognized by the state courts in New York as something that is inherent to the sport. What happened in 2020 was a case involving my client, the California Golf Club, which was operating a member-member tournament, and one of the members ended up getting injured. Now, the golf club is a 100-year-old course. It was designed by renowned Scottish golf architect Seymour Dunn. Some of you may be familiar with his work. It's a 9-hole course, certified to play 18, and it's pretty much substantially been in the same condition for the 100 years it's been in operation. It was created by kind of the local townspeople who said, we've got this little bit of land, it would be really nice to have a golf course here, and so the golf club was born out of that. Flash forward to June of 2020, we had this member-member tournament, and the plaintiff, David Kaleski, is a member of the golf club. It's a private club, and he's very familiar with the course. He's an avid golfer. He's golfed around the country, testified to he's probably golfed over 500 times. And he is playing with a random partner, and unfortunately sustains an injury from a bad shot. There's 2 holes that are kind of in question at the course. I can try to share my screen here and give you guys a visual aid. So as you folks can see this, so this is an overhead shot for holes 3 and 7, which are the ones at issue. This is hole 3. This captures most of the tee boxes and part of the fairway. Here's the fairway and the green for hole 7. So you can see they're adjacent holes, which is very common, as we all know. But Mr. Kaleski had already played on the 3rd hole at least twice. So we know he had played from both the green and red tees, and he had also played the 7th hole, we believe, at least once, maybe twice, and so again, he was familiar with the layout of where the tees were that day. On the date of the member-member tournament, as you can see, there are multiple tee boxes here on the 3rd hole. The white tees were at tee box A, which as you can see is the farthest back. The quirky thing about this hole was that tee box A was not actually original to the course. It was installed about 10 years prior by the golf club to increase the difficulty of the course. As we know, golf in 2020 was different than golf in 1920. Updates in technology, human physiology. You want to make the course a little more difficult, and this was the way to make that hole more difficult was to increase the length of the hole. So we added a tee box here at A, which was still in line with tee boxes B and C. And 3 is a fairly straightforward hole. The fairway's directly in front, the green is directly in front. You can see everybody that's in front of you. There are woods off to the right. And then there's tough to see here, but there's a lightning shed that's kind of next to the B tee box. So when you're teeing off of A, your view of the 7th hole is a little obstructed. Should that matter? Our position was not really. Your intent is to hit the ball, of course, straight down the 3rd fairway. Unfortunately for Mr. Kaleski, as he was on the 7th hole, he was looking for his ball. He was driving the golf cart with his partner, looking for a shot in the 7th fairway, and he was struck by an errant shot that came from tee box A. I hope you're able to tell from this overhead, but that's a difficult kind of 1 million shot to make. The ball striker at the A tee box was a man by the name of Justin Hubbard, who testified he intended to hit the ball straight. Unfortunately, it took a duck hook to the left, which, as you know, is basically a line drive and then takes a 90-degree turn. Everybody in his party, the other 3 players, all yelled 4, even though they couldn't see if someone was on the 7th fairway. Just to be safe and provide that courtesy, they all yelled 4. Eventually, they came to learn that Mr. Kadleski had been struck by the bad shot and was injured. Let me take that down. So Mr. Kadleski then found an attorney. They brought the case here in central New York in Madison County, which is about 20 minutes south of where I am in Syracuse. And we proceeded to litigate the case. We went through the discovery process. All the participants were deposed, so that would be the 4 people that were playing with Mr. Kadleski and the 4 people that were playing with the ball striker. And what did we learn? We learned that number 1, Mr. Kadleski was an avid golfer, familiar with the course, and that he understood that getting hit by a bad shot was a risk in golf. We learned that the tee box A that everyone had hit from was not original to the course. It was installed by the golf club without any kind of internal or external review or analysis. They didn't hire a safety consultant. They didn't bring in any type of architect or designer before they installed the tee box. And we learned that there are, of course, errant shots that come off the 3rd tees. Most of them slice off to the right to the woods, but there are some shots that do travel over to the left hole, or sometimes they hit that lightning shot that would be near the tee box B. This is the first time that anyone had really been seriously injured in the interplay between those 2 holes. Mr. Kadleski testified that he didn't know the tee box A had ever existed until the day of the tournament, and although we believe that strained credulity, we said, okay, fine, but you understood that it was there on the day of the tournament. You understood you were playing in a shotgun style, so you understood that there was continuous play on all holes at all times. He testified that when he was approaching, looking for his ball on the 7th fairway, he wasn't paying attention to the 3rd hole. He was looking for his ball. He was in a golf cart. He was talking to his partner. So he was not overly concerned with where the players were on the 3rd hole. Once we completed the discovery portion, kind of get this out of the way, Mr. Hubbard, the ball striker, he was let out of the case a little earlier because he testified that, look, I didn't intend to hit him. I wasn't negligent in my actions and I didn't act recklessly. He wasn't in my intended path. And law in New York was pretty clear that that shot is not going to shield the defendant from liability. So great, Mr. Hubbard gets out. And I say, well, I've got a judge's decision acknowledging the case law in New York about assumption of the risk. So I'm going to use that for my motion. I'm going to bring my own motion on behalf of the golf club to get this case dismissed. The allegations against my client were, of course, a little different. It was more of a negligent design argument that the plaintiff had raised. And in my motion, we hired 2 experts, a certified PGA pro who provided opinions that the operation of the tournament was in conformance with PGA and USGA standards. There was nothing negligent or in violation of any rules as far as how the tournament was played that day. And I also hired a golf course architect who provided opinions about golf course design, which was, as many of you may know, is that there is no regulations for golf course design. There's no rules. And that's what makes golf so great, is the uniqueness of the course. All of you, each of your courses have different layouts and things that make it unique that your guests and your participants like. And that's part of the charm of golf, as opposed to basketball or football, where we have regulations as far as the field of play and where things are supposed to be. So our expert was explaining that we don't have that in golf. When courses are designed, there are not rules that we have to follow as far as where the greens and the tees and the fairways are supposed to be placed. We, of course, do design them with safety in mind, but we can't eliminate all hazards. Ultimately, what we tried to say to the court was, this is an assumption of the risk case. We have an individual who was injured by an errant shot, and the case should be dismissed. On the other side, the plaintiff raised the argument that Well, this is not assumption of risk because what the course did in its design was to unreasonably increase the risk that Mr. Kaliski was going to be injured. And unfortunately, at the lowest level, the judge agreed with the plaintiff in the denial motion. And we decided that this is not a case that we should be taking to trial for multiple reasons. One being that juries are very unpredictable. They tend to not necessarily follow what the law or the facts are. They kind of grab onto things that as the attorneys we may see as relevant or necessary. And there's a human element to this too. Mr. Kaliski unfortunately sustained pretty serious injuries, and we didn't want that to cloud the jury's decision. So we decided we were going to appeal that decision, and that's when I contacted Ronnie at Miles at NGCOA and said, hey, I've got a case here where I have a plaintiff who is saying that what happened to him is not an assumption of risk. In fact, what they're proposing from their expert is that a couple of things. One is that there should have been complete visibility on the course at all times, which sounds ridiculous and in practice is ridiculous. And also talking out both sides of their mouth, and that the third hole should have had some type of netting or tree line to prevent balls from traveling from the third to the seventh hole, which again sounds ridiculous and in practice is ridiculous. And so I reached out to Ronnie and said, these are the things that are at stake here, and would you be interested in helping us with an amicus brief? And Ronnie was very enthusiastic about doing so, and we put him in touch with a local attorney here in Syracuse to write that amicus brief. For those of you not familiar with what that means, is amicus means friends of the court. You may hear it more in terms of the U.S. Supreme Court cases where an agency who's not actually a party but has an interest in the outcome submits a brief in support of their position. So we submitted our own brief on behalf of the golf club, and along with the amicus from NGCOA to the third department appellate division here in New York, which sits in Albany. There was an oral argument before a panel of 5 judges, and both we attended and the plaintiff counsel attended for that panel, and a few months later the decision came down and it was favorable to us, fortunately. The court recognized that this is an assumption of the risk issue, this is a legal issue, it should not be determined by a jury, and the case should be dismissed. However, there was one wrinkle in the decision in that 2 judges dissented and said, look, we've got an expert on the other side who's saying something that's counter to the golf course's expert, and that's not something that the judge can wed. That's a jury question. And so they dissented and said this case should go to trial. Because of that, because we had a split decision essentially, the plaintiff was able to bring the case to the highest court in New York, which is not a Supreme Court, it's actually called the New York Court of Appeals. Also sits in Albany. And once again, I reached out to Ronnie and said, well, we got a victory, but we still have one more defense to make. And this is really the most important one because the Court of Appeals is the highest court in New York. They can change the law, make new law, and so if they find that they want to change the assumption of risk doctrine, they can. And they can use this case as a way to do that. So this was really important that we win at that level. And so again, I put NGCOA in touch with another local counsel to submit another amicus brief. We again submit our brief on behalf of the golf club. Again, an oral argument was held earlier this year in Albany before another panel of judges. And this time we got a unanimous decision in our favor that the court again said, no, this is assumption of risk. This is a case that's clearly inherent risk in golf. There's nothing the golf course did to unreasonably increase that risk past what is inherent to the sport. And the plaintiff's case is denied, and that was the final resolution of the case. It couldn't go any further. Reached out to Ronnie and gave him the good news, and here I am today to speak with you guys about it. And I know a few people seem like they were familiar with it. I think it's kind of made the rounds a little bit. I heard from some folks that were down in Florida that heard about it. But it was definitely an important kind of seminal case in not just golf, but also that assumption of risk doctrine.
Jennifer, thank you for that great close these comments on this topic, what advice would you give to this room of golf course owners and operators so that they can protect themselves from, other similar liability claims in the future?
So that's a good question, Rachel. I found that the court and the lower court that denied our motions seemed to grab onto the fact that the addition of the tee box had been made without any type of review or analysis. And even though our expert, who was a golf course designer, said, had I been contacted, I would have told him this is fine. I think that may have been a crucial step that the lower court, again, that judge who denied my motion, he may have recognized that and said, well, okay, they took the step needed to make sure they weren't unreasonably increasing the risk that someone could be hurt. So, maybe that would have granted my motion at the lowest level and potentially granted these future appeals. So I would say that if you're going to make any modifications that make any substantive change to the course, you may want to consult with a safety expert, a designer, architect, because the cost of them coming in may be worth it to avoid, getting into litigation like we were involved in with the Casanova Club.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Jennifer? Yes.
Was the person who actually hit it involved in any litigation?
Jennifer, did you hear the question? The question was,
did.
did the person who actually hit him, was he involved in any litigation?
So he was. So he was one of the initial defendants. He was let out of the case a little earlier than we were because the allegations against him were that he was negligent or reckless in hitting this bad tee shot, which it sounds ridiculous as I say it, but the court agreed that because the ball striker testified that his intent was not to hit Mr. Catalesi, the plaintiff, it was to hit the ball straight down the fairway ahead of him, that Mr. Catalesi was not in his intended path, that there was no negligence or recklessness to be attributed to the ball striker. So if he was let out of the case a little bit earlier, and then I thought I was be able to use the logic the court provided in its decision dismissing that ball striker for my argument that assumption of risk would apply. It didn't work at the lowest level, but it worked at the highest level.
Any other questions? Jennifer, thank you very much to you and your team for all of your guidance and expertise on this. We really appreciate it. It was a big issue. And we were just talking today about all these new golfers coming into the game, and there are some errant golf balls, off the tee. So anyways, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate your thorough time. And I think Jennifer's going to jump off. I've got one other presenter here, so I'm going to keep going through our agenda, but I wanted to share that with you to show how a national association can even, and is, impacting issues at the local level, at the state level here in your backyard. I'm going to come back to commercial programs because that's really important, but we have Mike Suglich on the screen here. So I'm going to jump over to education. This really blends, this is one of our pillars, but it kind of blends two of the pillars. It blends our education and resources that we provide to our members, and it blends community. Raise your hand if you operate a municipal golf or government agency golf course. Do we have any of them in here? So we have a few. The NGCOA, as I mentioned, the name owners is in the name of the association. But over the last 50 years, we've really evolved. We continue to service our core, which is our golf course owner, who's involved also in operations. We also take care of and are home for our management companies and multi-course owners, as well as resorts. In the last 2 years, have really doubled down the efforts due to the national board's desires to really be a home base for municipal golf courses, municipal and government agency golf courses. So we developed what's called the Municipal and Government Agency Golf Course Operators Community, and that's a community within our NGCOA community. Very active group. We have over, I think we're up to 400 different municipal and government golf course operators on a very active community online. And one of the services that we provide for them, which is also coming out in 2026 for non-municipal government agencies, which is private companies, is a benchmark study. And we're doing that with our great partner, Mike Sedlich at Greenlight Advisors. Now, Mike, I'm going to warn you, you were the last presentation right before lunch, and they've been sitting here for hours. So they're getting a little restless and squirming in their seats, but would you please share with us for a few moments a little bit about what's going on and the impact that this benchmark study is having for operators across the country?
Yeah, sure. I was going to share my screen. Good morning, everybody. Let's see here. You see the golf course?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, my name's Mike Sublich. I'm a CPA. I'm the owner of Greenlight Advisors, and developed a tool for golf course owners and operators called golfclubbenchmarks.com. And in order to create exposure of what we were doing, we targeted the municipal golf market, which was kind of what we thought was an underserved area. And we've partnered up with Rachel and the NGCOA the last 2 years to perform an annual municipal golf study. And what we've done is, in the first year, we started out with about 100 courses participating in the study, and this year we're probably closing in on about 400 courses participating. And kind of leveraging my accounting and technology background, we've basically built a database, and we consume all the data that the participating courses share with us. And we basically have two main reports, a financial report, which is basically an income statement of the performance of your club, and an operational report that basically shares the KPI metrics of the course, a number of rounds, utilization, things like that. And anybody that participates in the study will receive a complimentary copy of the final report, and we'll give them access to a report card on how their course is performing and how it stacks up against the industry. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip to, let's see here, on the screen, some of the courses that participated in the study. Troon is one of the organizations that they share all their municipal golf course data with us for the benefit of the entire municipal golf community. Some of the courses out east, Montgomery County, in the Washington, D.C. area, they have 9 courses in there. Phoenix, you can see some of the other courses, the city of Louisville, Chicago, Cook County. We have courses in all 5 major regions of the country. Up in the Northeast, we have roughly 70 courses in the New York, New Jersey area that participate and share their data with us. And we basically capture 20 financial metrics and 20 operational metrics. And then these are some of the comments and quotes that I heard back from the operators, in terms of, I don't know how we compare to other courses. And these are some of the benefits of what we're doing. Our city council wants answers we can't confidently give them. Every department has its own version of the truth, and you can read a couple of the others there. And then just as an example of one of the metrics that we provide in the final benchmark report, it's basically, we categorize everything in the top, median, and bottom quartiles. How are the best performing, how are the middle of the road courses performing, and how is the bottom quartile performing? And you can see here when we did the study in 24 using the 23 data, the top quartile was generating over 26% net income to the bottom line. So if they're generating $2 million in revenue, they were putting close to $500,000 to the bottom line. So the median was roughly 14%. And then we do these same metrics with a lot of the other line items, golf course maintenance, what percent of revenue you're spending on golf course maintenance, et cetera. And then here's the report card that we provide. We'll basically, anybody that participates in the study, we'll load their data in, we'll give them an online access to their report card. And you can see how they're performing either in the top, the middle, or the bottom quartile of each of the metrics across the financial benchmarks and the operational benchmarks. You can see some examples here. And then I'll just scroll through some of the other metrics that we provide in our final report. and this is data that we capture from you as well. Golf operations net margin, you can see the top quartile is generating almost 74% net margin from golf ops, which is basically all your golf operations revenues less your golf ops cost of goods sold, like your labor costs, etc. Here's another one, golf course maintenance. You can see the most profitable courses spend roughly 22% of revenue on maintaining the golf course. The bottom quartile is up around 43%. Here again, net income margin. We do golf course maintenance per acre. We benchmark number of employees in terms of full-time equivalents on grounds and in golf ops. Your utilization based on weather playable rounds. We take your total rounds annually and divide it by your weather playable rounds, and we come up with the utilization percent, average daily rate, and then this is actually a screen where you log in and you have access to your best-in-class report card. Here's everybody likes leaderboards in golf, so I thought we'd put together a leaderboard. These are some of the courses that are in the top quartile in terms of profitability across the country. You can see there's one here in Montgomery County, has one. Meadwood does a real good job in managing their operations. Chick Evans in Chicago, it's a Cook County course, and several others. And then these are some of the quotes that we get, we receive back from some of our customers that join our service. Andrew Peterson, we lean into our data a lot. And then I thought what I could do too, Rachel, is if I can get everybody's email that's in attendance, I'd be happy to share this this slide deck with them. These are the 500 plus courses. We have 150 KPIs. Some of our partnerships that we work with Landscapes Golf Management, Troom. There's a group out east, Mike Atara's group, Spirit Golf Management is a certified partner of ours too. He's in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. And then some of our members, Palm Beach County, Florida, Salt Lake City Golf, Alamo City. A couple others are like Louisville, City of Louisville has 10 courses. And then some of our strategic partners, Rachel with the National Golf Course Owners Association. We're going to do a presentation down at the Golf Business Conference, sharing results of the study in January. If you're interested in that, we're going to be doing it in partnership with the NGCOA and the PGA of America. So it should be an interesting session. And then if anybody wants to join up for the study, again, I'll share the slide deck with you. And but if you just want to make a note of the link here, it's signup.golfclubbenchmarks.com. We've extended the sign-up date to November 15th, and then we share a template of the data that you would need to provide us with. And that data is provided to us in confidentiality. We don't share that data with anybody else. And it's just aggregated into our averages. And then you'll need to share your data with us. You can sign up by November 15th, and you'll need to share the data with us by December 5th. So you have a few weeks to pull the data together. Usually it takes roughly maybe an hour to pull it together the first year. We've got a lot of repeat courses that are with us now. And I would probably say it probably takes on a recurring basis maybe 30 minutes a year to pull it together. Maybe a little bit more than that, but we probably need a little help from accounting because there's basically we capture the revenues, maybe 5 or 6 major expense categories of the golf course. We take it down to net income, and then we gather some of the operational data, like number of rounds in the year, how many full-time employees you have on grounds and in maintenance, or grounds and in golf operations, and just a few other items like that. So if you're interested, my email is mike@greenlightadvisors.com, and I appreciate the opportunity to present to you guys this morning. Good luck in your off season, and enjoy your lunch today. So that's all I've got, Rachel. I don't know if you want to open, if anybody's got any brief questions. We don't want to hold anybody up for lunch right now.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate you appreciate your partnership with the NGCOA. Part of when we developed the municipal and government agency golf course operators community is our goal, and our mission every day with that group is to ensure that we're empowering and equipping our operators to operate confidently, and using the data through the benchmark study is one example of how to do that. Mike, you weren't in the room earlier, but the question was asked by not a municipal golf course. It's a privately owned 9-hole course here in the area. Percentage of revenue derived from green fees versus food and beverage sales. And I don't know if you know that off the top of your head from this study, but I remember you giving that data point when I saw a presentation a few weeks ago. But that's an example of something that when we're asking those questions, a benchmark study like this will give us some of those data points. So, Mike, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and I've got an answer for you. The greens fees represent 62% of the total revenue. And I can tell you what the food and beverages too. Food and beverage total revenue represents, on average, 10 to 14% of total revenue. And I can't tell you that the most profitable golf courses out there, in most cases, have an insignificant food and beverage operation and have the highest gross margin in managing simply golf operations, not food and beverage. So take that for what it's worth.
Great. Well, we hope we can bring you this type of data for even privately owned courses in 2026 and beyond. So, Mike, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Hey, my pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. The last couple comments on here. So I want to talk about commercial programs. There are flyers, one sheets in your packet that highlight some of our commercial partners at the NGCOA. One of the founding reasons for establishing this trade association was to be able to use the group buying power when it comes to purchasing from industry suppliers. And so there are rebate programs that you can take advantage of, and I hope that you are. If you have any questions about any of that, please let me know. I'd be happy to walk you through that. I already talked, I'm jumping around a little bit now. On education, I talked about the white paper we put in there. I want to extend an invitation to you to join us at Golf Business Conference. That's our national annual conference that's in conjunction with the PGA show in Orlando, January 19th to the 21st. I hope you'll join us there. For those of you who are part of the municipal government operators community, we do have breakout sessions for you during those couple of days, but the education is really good for anybody who's operating a golf course. And then the last pillar, I usually start with this one. I think if you ask 9 members, or you ask 10 members of the NGCOA what their most used benefit is, I believe 9 of them will tell you it's community. And it's doing things just like this, sitting together, building on relationships, asking each other questions, sharing challenges that you're having at your course, and coming up with some good best practices and solutions. Today over lunch, what I want to ask you to do is stand up and allow the staff to come in and freshen up the tables. And what we're going to do is we're going to really practice this idea of community over lunch. We've got some topics that we want to discuss. As your course changes, we're going to change the topic. And what we're essentially calling this afternoon is our Accelerate Live session. Accelerate is our online member portal at the NGCOA where members engage on a daily basis on different topics and issues related to their business. And we're going to do that together over lunch. So we're going to pick a topic. We'll start with that it's on the agenda. We'll start with that for the first course. You can visit about that with your table. So try not to sit by anybody that you work with, because the idea is to get new ideas. And then we're going to share some ideas from each table in between courses. And our hope is that, like 50 years ago when our organization was founded, that you find that the time together here today not only impacts you positively back at your business, but also in your personal relationships and in your life. So I thank you very much for being here this morning, and we look forward to a beautiful lunch together this afternoon. So sorry for the abrupt ending here, but we want to get you guys on to lunch. So we'll invite everyone to clear the tables, and we'll sit down for a nice 3-course lunch. Thank you very much.